Right, today I'm going to be working on hopefully getting, there's a couple of things we got to do. Last episode I said we were going to lock in our new legal moves upon a first movement grid locked, but what we really need to do is allow us to drop stones, excuse me, allow us to drop stones into a grid once we lock it in like that. See how dropping stones is still dropping stones in the first grid. We need to be able to drop stones in the second grid. Then we need to work on locking that grid. Then we can worry about the proper legal moves for locking in our direction. So, basically, this is the first stone's drop. So we need similar one tricky thing is we need basically the same thing where, like, if down is pressed, then we need to drop a stone in the correct, it wouldn't be in the movement origin row, but it would be in this move locked row. The trickiest thing is we need to be able to drop all our occupants in this space. We made it so that we couldn't drop all occupants, because if you would drop all occupants, then lock in your move, your move would be over and you didn't move any pieces. So I made the decision to, so that you had to have at least one occupant. Otherwise, if you would lock it in, you didn't move any stones. So there's a double reason I did that, which is if we drop in an occupant, all of our milestones will be nullified, and we would need a way to keep the stack order. Well, we should be able to pick it up at the same stack order, no problem. Because we copy over the stack order, so I don't know why we were having problems with that. Anyway, I'm sure we'll figure out exactly how tough it is soon. This stones in hand locked, that is the to highlight. No, this would be a love press after stones in hand locked. That would mean we would be activating our first movement grid. So, like, and this would be dropping stones and then enter. Yeah, this would be activating. Okay, I guess it's okay. Let me see. So we'll need this. So this is our stones in hand movement, but we would need, if we're in a move type move and we're not movement origin locked, but we're stones in hand locked. Now, if we're stones in hand locked, we actually don't want to do that until not in stones in hand locked. We don't want to be able to drop stones until our first movement grid is locked. Then we decide how many stones we drop in there. So I have a message here saying we cannot drop or pick up more than we started with. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we fixed that by doing this dropped in movement origin. But we need to reassign this. So yeah, in our pickup, we can only pick up as long as our dropped in movement origin is greater than or equal to 1, and we drop it. We would need to come up with a different name because this is a different dropped in movement origin. What if we do dropped in first movement? Gets 0. I'm going to add a comment up here saying this is first movement grid. Okay, so if it's a move type move and we've locked in our first movement grid, then pressing down, we need to get rid of this occupants 1, but I'm not going to do that just yet. And not stones in hand locked. Now I guess we did that so we wouldn't accidentally drop a stone in a different before we lock this in. So the equivalent of this would be whatever we choose to turn to true right here. So it would be first movement stones dropped. So instead of grid locked, it'd be stones dropped. Then we can also do this and not first movement stones dropped. We do this so that we only are able to drop all of our stones if it's going in a first movement stone, not in a movement origin stone. And it just helps segment the code so that we just can't affect more than one grid with more than one logic at a time. So this is just the dropping stones logic for this first movement grid locked. Now dropped in first movement. So it starts as 0. It gets incremented by 1. Then when we press up to pick up a stone, we decrement it by 1. Only if this is greater than or equal to 1. So if it's 0, you can't pick up a stone. If you drop 2 stones, it'll be 2. If you pick up 1 stone, it'll be 1. It'll be greater than or equal to 1. So I think this is just greater than 1 now, because we want to be able to pick up the very last stone we put in there. Unlike the before logic. Now we need to figure out what happens when it's nil. Because now we're putting this, we can only, so mouse stone occupants is greater than 1. What if we do greater than or equal to 1? That means we can drop our mouse stone at 1 occupant. Then, for example, if we were to pick up 1, we would take, I don't know where we're doing this lowest milestone stack order update. I think that's going to be essential to track down so that this is working correctly, because I don't know, it's going to be hard to do it otherwise. If that's busted, it's going to be hard. Now, where do we do this lowest milestone stack order to get started? Lowest. Where is the first mention of this? Come on. Here, it starts off as 1. Then we assign it based on upon our pickup. Yeah, once we pick up the stone. No. Yeah, once we click on a stone, that it's a legal move. So once we initiate the move, that's when we lock in our lowest mouse stack order. And it should carry over to the next grid, so I think we'll be okay. I just want to make sure we're dropping the stone in the correct location now, instead of our stones in hand dropping it at the movement origin. We need to drop it in our new move locked row. So for this first movement grid, instead of movement origin row, we're going move locked row. Right? The move locked row is assigned once we click on the space, so I think we should be okay there. And then move locked column. Okay. Now when we drop a stone, we decrement our occupants. And we're copying our lowest milestone stack order, which if we have 1 stone would only be 1. Well, we increment it here. This is confusing to me that we would increment it. No. Oh. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that we would increment the lowest milestone stack order, in the sense that once we drop a stone, the index for our lowest milestone goes up by 1. I feel like this lowest milestone stack order is going to screw us. I'm not exactly sure, because we're not resetting this milestone stack order. We're only keeping track of it with the down and up presses, but if we mess up anything in that, it'll screw up not only the render order, but the placement of these stones. But let's just see what happens. So we're going to copy if we drop a stone, we decrement our milestone occupants, and then we assign our occupants from that row to be, okay, so we need to, same thing here, just this dot occupants. So that first move locked row and column will need to get set equal to its current occupants number plus 1 if a stone was dropped in there. And then if a stone is dropped in there, we know we're at least occupied. So that's what we're doing there. And then we're gonna nullify our lowest mouse stack order before we increment our stack order. Okay. Okay, let's see if we're able to drop all our stones. I mean, let's see if anything is broken. I mean, first of all, 376, 736, that's what it was. Where are we missing an end? Right here. Okay. Okay, so we're moving a stack. Let's drop one. Let's lock in our stones and hand locked. It'll render 2 spaces. Now, actually, pressing up and down doesn't do anything at this point. We need to lock in 1 space. So once we lock in a space, pressing down drops in a stone. Pressing up doesn't take it out. It takes out from the first one. So this is jacked. Let's see that again. So we move a stack. We lock it in. We select a place to move it. Now let's see what happens when we press down. We drop both of our stones, which isn't right, and we need to redo the stack order. See, this is where it gets really tough. This is where it gets really tough because our mouse stack order gets changed once we place it in a grid that has a different amount of stones in it than it came from, because our stack order is also tethered to our index. Yeah, our stack order basically is our index. So we need a way. Oh God, I don't know what to do. Now I guess we want to make sure we don't drop it in the first space anymore. So when we press down and not stones and hand locked, so we need to make sure we're stones and hand locked once we press enter, and pressing enter is what does that for us. Yeah, once we press enter up here in our stones and hand locked, we press enter, our stones hand locked becomes true, therefore we shouldn't be able to drop any stones in the movement origin. So I think it's coming from here somewhere. Oh, here, look. We missed some in our members movement origin row. We actually need to. So what this is saying we're going to take the color of the lowest mouse stone stack order member in our mouse stone class, which is an occupant class, and we're going to assign that stone color into the stone color of our current grid's occupants plus 1, so 1 higher than where it is. So we need to put this move locked row and column in here as well, because we're still placing it in the members in the old space. Okay, let's see what that gives us. I'm hoping that'll at least stop dropping stones in the first space here. So type move, let's drop 1 and lock it in. Let's lock in this space and let's drop in 1. We lock in the space. This is jacked. Oh no. See, pressing down drops a stone in 2 locations, which shouldn't be possible. And it does the wrong stack order. So how did we drop the white stone in the top one? Let's say we're gonna move. Let's say we're gonna move here. So it looks like it drops index 1 at the first grid and then the next index at the second grid. So let me just double check. Stones and hand locked. Once we lock in. Yeah, stones and hand locked must be getting set to false somewhere. But I'm not seeing it being false anywhere. We do stones and hand locked, so let's do I'm gonna render the stones and hand locked and make sure it is. Oh, actually, hold on. So we're dropping our here. If we're not stones and hand locked, we're allowed to drop. So when we are stones and hand locked is true, yeah, we should not be able to drop in that movement origin grid anymore. So let's see, when we get to be true, so let's move this stack and we'll move this stack with this many stones into this location. Now, stones in hand locked is false. So actually, yeah, we're not setting this to true upon pressing the enter. Is there another time we press enter to lock in? Let me just see. When does that become? It starts as false. Stones in hand locked false. Now, right when I press enter here, it should be true, which it is. But once I click this grid on the first movement grid, it goes back to false. So we need to not do that. So when we go to click in our movement grid here, no, it's where we click. It's where we turn first movement grid into true. Where do we do that? Right here. So if stones in hand locked, see, we need to not falsify this because we already falsified it. No. Wait. I'm thinking about this wrong. We need a variable that toggles whether or not we're locking in. So look, we start off as not stones and hand locked, and we're not stones and hand locked which allows us to drop a stone in the origin space. Yet when we hit enter, we become stones in handlock true. Now that'll prevent us. Yeah, we don't need to falsify it here. We don't need to falsify it here because we trueify it here upon the enter, and that prevents us from dropping it in the origin space, ideally. So move type move, let's move this amount of stones. So stones in handlock true. Now it should remain true after clicking this, which it does, and now when we drop, it should only drop into the new grid. And we shouldn't be rendering these legal moves yet. But we are able to drop that stone, and we're able to drop the next, and they keep the right index. But for some reason, we're actually... I think we were using our stones in handlocked to determine what we render, because we're rendering our legal moves now, which here stones in handlocked. Yeah, if we're stones in handlocked and we're not first movement grid locked, then we want to render those legal moves. Now we'll have a different set, which is not if first movement grid locked, but if first movement stones dropped, which we still got to do. But hopefully adding this will make it so that we aren't rendering those legal moves until we lock in how many stones we drop in our first movement. Actually, no, we need this. I don't see why it's hating this. We'll just comment it out. Like it doesn't hate this one. Whatever. I don't get why it hates that. Come on, dude. What? Why won't it let me do that? Just like it's up here, it should let me do it. It's the same sort of deal. What the f... Here. This is what I'm missing. Then we can do this. Okay. Now let's see. We shouldn't be rendering those legal moves until we lock in how many stones we drop in our first movement grid locked. So we pick up, we say yes, we say move here, we say right now it's not rendering those anymore, which is right. And now we can drop a stone in our next grid. Let's add pickup stones real quick for that, because we can actually drop all our stones now, but we need to make sure that we can actually pick up all our stones. So when we press up, we're taking the move locked row, just like in our dropped. Actually, this is right here. We need this one. We need this under our pick up stones. It needs to go right here and in two places, right here as well. So we're just updating it so it's not that movement origin row, it's actually our spot that we selected, which we have locked in at our move locked row and column appropriately. And then I'm hoping we'll be able to pick up stones, but I feel like there's going to be a bug for the top stone, and there's at least a bug for the render order for for the stack order. Yeah, this actually should nullify. This should nullify us, our space, because we just took a member out of that grid. Yeah. Okay. I gotta leave here soon for dinner with the family. But let's see. Let's see where we're at. Okay. Let's drop one stone here. Lock in or move our stones in hand locked. Then we're gonna pick, say for up here. We're gonna say drop a stone. Just kidding, I want to pick up a stone. And that doesn't work just yet. We're able to drop it, not able to pick it up. So something's messed up here. If it was press step, dropped in movement origin. Oh, here, this is exactly what it is. First movement. Okay, and then if we need to decrement our first movement origin upon picking up one, so that we can actually only drop what we can only pick up what we've dropped, essentially. Now let's try it. Doof, 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 doof. Okay, we drop one there. Pressing up still doesn't allow us to pick it up, and our stack order makes us crash. Instead of, and not first movement stones dropped. Actually, yeah, that should be right. First movement stones dropped. Which is false at the moment. First movement stones. Actually, we don't have that. We didn't initialize that. So it could be garbage values, maybe? That could have been causing that bug. I just want to see us able to pick up anything. If it crashes after that, that's fine. We'll figure it out. I just don't know why it's not picking up any stones at the current moment. So we say drop a stone, lock it in, drop a stone. Yep, up still doesn't pick up anything, and then we crash. We'll just have to take it one step at a time with our picking up stones, but at least we got dropping stones in our first movement grid. So it's the first time we've actually been able to move stones, but the thing is we need to make sure if we drop a stone in a grid that doesn't have anything, its stack order becomes 1 no matter what the stack order was in the mouse. But that makes it really difficult because then we need to keep track, well, we need to keep track of like the highest most stack order so that if we pick up the stones again, it would re-shrink at the correct mouse size so that we could still see all the things in our hand. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, it's totally doable. I think I'm making it seem to be worse than it really is going to be, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Let's take a look at our get diff real quick. Yeah, we added 2 variables. One is a Boolean movement, first movement stones dropped, that we're using to toggle our movement into our first space, not our movement origin. We've got a dropped in first movement count, which is to limit our first movement pickups. We added in some logic for our second stones dropped. Right now it's basically mimicking the first instantiation of our logic, just only if we, with the updated grid in mind. We are only making legal moves if the stone's in hand locked and we're not first movement grid locked, so that we are not accidentally making legal moves while our stone's in hand locked. It's true. Yeah, we'll have to figure out why our stone pickups is busted, and then we'll have to fix that stack order bug, which is going to be the trickiest thing. But then we should be able to migrate that logic over to our next third movement, or second movement and third movement, and it should be right still. So that is looking to be the hardest thing we have left, which is to pull back a specific stack order once you've dropped it into a first movement grid. How to pick up the stones, the mouse stones, once you've dropped them all, and have them keep their original stack order that you picked them up from, so that they can render appropriately depending on which box they're put in. That's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky to debug a lot of that stuff too, because there's a lot of occupants and a lot of members with a lot of fields, which makes it hard to print out all the info that you're trying to debug, which is why we have almost all of our tester stuff in our grid 1.1, because it's just grid 1.1.1, and then we just print out any field we want in grid 1.1 so we can test it. I'm going to commit with a message saying added dropped stones into first movement grid. Still busted pickups. Okay, good push. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we're going to be doing, hopefully fixing up pickup stones, and then it's going to take me a little while to figure out that stack order thing. It really is. But if we do it slow and methodical, we should be able to figure it out. There's my alarm to get going. So I will see you guys tomorrow and hopefully make some more progress.